Welcome along to the Deep Dive. Today, we're zeroing in on a Premier League game that really told a story. Crystal Palace versus Wolves.
That's right, at Selhurst Park, Tuesday, May 20th, match week 37.
And for Palace, this was huge. They just won the FA Cup against Man City. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, still buzzing from that, you'd imagine.
And this game, well, it wasn't just about the 3 points, was it? They were aiming for a club record, their highest ever Premier League points tally.
Exactly. So a lot riding on it, even beyond the usual end-of-season feel.
So let's unpack it. We'll look at the key moments, maybe some tactical bits, and, what it tells us about where both these clubs are heading.
Sounds good. We've got the match report details, the facts, but it's digging into what it all means. That's the interesting part for you.
Okay, right then. Match summary.
Yeah.
Wolves, they actually started pretty well. Took the lead.
24th minute, Emmanuel Agbadou.
Yeah, a header. Jorgen Strand Larsen with the assist. And there was that moment, wasn't there? Like, did it cross the line?
Uh-huh. Looked like a potential clearance, but goal line tech buzzed. Confirmed. 1-0 Wolves.
Now, what's interesting from my perspective anyway is how Palace reacted.
Yeah.
Because sometimes conceding first at home, especially after a massive high, like the cup win.
Yeah, it can knock the stuffing out of you.
Right. But here, it almost seemed to, galvanize them.
I think you're right. The response was almost immediate. It suggests, a real strength mentally in that Palace squad right now.
Spot on. Just 3 minutes later, bang. Nketiah equalizes.
That was the January signing, Romain Esse, involved in the build-up too, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Good link-up play. And then, 5 minutes after that?
Nketiah again.
Nketiah again, Ismail Assar this time with the assist. Suddenly it's 2-1 Palace. Game flipped completely.
And that quick turnaround, I don't think it was just a fluke. Palace visibly upped their game after going behind.
How so?
Well, their pressing seemed more intense. They pushed up, didn't really give Wolves any time to settle back into their rhythm. That pressure force errors created those chances. It was a deliberate shift, I felt.
Makes sense. Second half starts, and not long after, Palace extend their lead.
Ben Chilwell, 50th minute.
A free kick, right. Took a bit of a deflection, I think the report mentioned.
Yeah, definitely deflected.
Yeah.
But, they all count 3-1. At that point, you're thinking, okay, Palace have got this wrapped up.
You would, wouldn't you? But fair play to Wolves. They didn't just fold.
No, they didn't. Strand Larsen got his second of the game, actually, didn't he?
He did, yeah. 62nd minute. Bellegarde with the assist on that one, 3-2.
And suddenly, it's game on again. Bit of tension back in Selhurst Park. Made you wonder if Wolves could push on and find an equalizer.
Absolutely. For a while there, it felt quite nervy. Wolves were pushing.
But Palace managed it well, didn't they? And then the sub.
Eberechi Eze. He hadn't even started the game. Comes on.
And scores, 86th minute.
Justin Devaney, another sub actually, got the assist. That sealed it. 4-2.
Proper end-to-end stuff at times. Great entertainment for the crowd.
Yeah, and speaking of the crowd, good turnout. Nearly 25,000 there.
Yeah.
David Webb was the ref. Few bookings, too.
Agbadou and Tody Gones for Wolves. Joel Ward for Palace. Standard stuff.
And the subs, you mentioned Eze and Devaney coming on for Palace. Will Hughes had gone off just before halftime for Devaney.
Yeah, that could have been tactical, maybe a slight injury. Hard to say from the outside. But Wolves made changes, too, a couple at the break.
Which kind of suggests their manager, Vitor Pereira, wasn't too happy, even though they'd taken the lead initially.
Well, yeah. Bringing players off at halftime, especially after going ahead and then conceding twice like that,
Yeah.
It's usually a sign the manager feels something needs to change quite drastically. Trying to wrestle back control, perhaps, particularly in midfield, where Palace seemed to get on top.
Let's focus on Palace, then. That atmosphere coming off the cup win must have been electric.
Oh, absolutely. And then to go behind, but show that fight back, it really does say a lot about their character this season.
And it wasn't just the star names necessarily. The Nketiah stepping up, Essen involved.
Right. And key players like Eze, Jean-Philippe Mateta, they started on the bench. Shows they've got decent depth now, doesn't it? People ready to come in and make an impact.
That's crucial, yeah. And personally, seeing a team build that kind of collective spirit, it's impressive.
Definitely. And we have to mention Joel Ward.
Ah, yeah. What a moment for him.
His last ever home game. 13 years at the club.
That reception when he came off.
Yeah.
Proper send-off. You could feel the connection there.
Moments like that really matter, don't they? Adds another layer to the win. And the result itself, securing that record points tally, keeping them 12th, it just caps off a really, really strong season for Palace.
It really does. Not just the cup, but real league consistency, too. Okay, let's flip it. Wolves, to get the early goal, looked bright for a bit.
But then it unraveled. And looking at the form guide, the report notes this was their third loss in a row.
After winning 6 straight before that. That's quite a turnaround in fortunes.
It is. And, from an analysis point of view, you start asking why. Consistency. Squad depth.
And maybe the team selection raises questions too. The manager, Pereira, left Nelson Semedo and, crucially, Matheus Cunha on the bench to start.
Yeah, that was a big call. Especially Cunha. And you hear the rumors, the whispers about potential summer moves.
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is he already thinking ahead, maybe planning for life without certain players?
Could be. Cunha's stats are impressive, 15 goals, 6 assists. He's vital for them.
The report mentions Man United interest, apparently, and you could kind of see, couldn't you, that maybe they missed his spark from the start.
Definitely. They looked a bit more, predictable perhaps, until he came on. He had that header near the end that went close. He just offers something different.
It's a risk, isn't it? Relying so much on one guy.
It is. Works when he's firing, but if he's out or, on the bench, finding that creativity elsewhere seems a challenge for them sometimes. That's just my perspective looking at the recent games.
So, bigger picture. Palace, they finish up at Anfield against Liverpool. This win must give them huge confidence for that.
Oh, for sure. Momentum is everything in football. Finishing strongly, especially away at Liverpool, would be a massive statement heading into the break.
And Wolves, they've got Brentford at home, all in all.
Yeah, but you feel like the report hints the bigger story for them is the summer, what happens next. It seems like a really crucial period for Pereira and the club, decisions to be made.
Definitely feels that way. And just for completeness, the officials, David Webb, the ref, assistants Matthew Wilkes and Mark Perry. Darren Bond was 4th official. VAR was Chris Kavanagh, assisted by Lee Betts.
Good to acknowledge the whole team involved.
So, wrapping this deep dive up then, a day of real celebration for Palace record points. Great win, sending off Joel Ward in style.
Yeah, real feel-good factor around Selhurst Park.
Whereas for Wolves, a disappointing day, another loss, and these questions hanging over team selection, player futures.
It really does feel like two clubs on slightly different paths right at this moment. Palace building momentum, Wolves maybe facing a bit of uncertainty.
It's fascinating how one match can show you that, isn't it? The contrast is stark.
It really is. Palace look confident, clear about what they're doing. Wolves, maybe at a bit of a crossroads.
Right. And that leads perfectly into a final thought for you to ponder. We talk about Matheus Cunha. The reports linking him away, how important he is. So if he does leave Wolves this summer, how much does that change things for them next season? Their whole approach, their attacking threat. It really makes you consider how losing just one key player can force a team to completely rethink things, doesn't it?